Okay, good morning Year 4 and welcome to today's maths lesson. I hope you have enjoyed getting to know your 7 and 9 times tables a little bit better over the last couple of days, but we are going to be moving on to a new topic today of fractions. But before we do that, please make sure you are still practicing your times tables every day at home. It's so important that you know them all, so you're going to be practicing all of those now, whether it's on TT Rockstars, whether it's on Maths Frame or on Hit the Button. Lots of great websites you can be using, so please make sure you're practicing as much as possible. Okay, on to today's lesson. So our do now is going to be using our 7 and 9 times tables, since that's been our focus over the last 2 lessons. And I want you to copy and complete the missing number equation. So on this side, it's your normal facts that we're used to, and then you're applying it with multiples of 10 and 100 on this side. And then if you're feeling up for a challenge today, you've got some word problems to have a go at as well. So try and stretch yourself and have a go at those. So if you pause the video, and then you can copy down and have a go at the questions and come back when you are ready. Off you go. Okay, hopefully you've had a go at all of those, if not at least these questions here. I'm going to pop up the answers. Now, I'm not going to read through every single one, but what you can do is pause the video again and tick your answers and check them and then come back when you're ready. Okay, moving on to our new topic and lesson for today then. So you should know quite a little bit about fractions already because you have learned about them before. Today we're going to be looking at recognizing different representations of fractions. So we'll start first with our star word, so repeating after me. Numerator, denominator, part, whole, divide, representation, equal parts. Fantastic. So those are our keywords for today. We're going to be looking at them in a bit more detail as we go along. So the first thing I would like you to do is look at the shapes on the screen. Now they've been divided up. I want you to think which of these shapes have been divided into quarters. So hopefully we know what this word is here and we should have seen it before. What does quarters mean? So hopefully you might be able to tell me that quarters means the shape has been split into 4 parts. Now there's a little bit more important information there, but before I give you all of the answers, what I would like you to do is look at the shapes. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different shapes. I want you to think which ones have been split into quarters. So I'm going to pause for a moment. If you want to pause the video and have a proper look, you can. And then I'm going to go through each shape. Okay, so looking at the first one, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So I could say, yes, that is in quarters. But before I move on, because I can see some of the shapes are quite different, I'm going to give you a really little important bit of information that's hiding under here, which was one of our star words, which says equal parts. So for it to be split into quarters, and the same with any other fraction, the parts need to be equal. So hopefully you remembered, but if not, you might be thinking, oh, I'm not sure about some of the other shapes now, but let's have a look together. So my first one is definitely in equal parts, so I'm going to leave that one as a tick. Moving on to this shape here, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 different parts, and they are all equal. So that one is definitely split into quarters. Now moving on to this circle at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's got 4 parts. So you might have thought that's split into quarters, but if we look carefully, this section on the end is not equal to this one. Same with this part here. So the parts are not equal. So this one would not be split into quarters. Even though it has 4 parts, they are not equal. Moving on to this triangle here. So I have 1, 2, 3. Ooh, so the parts are not equal, but it's also not 3 parts. That would be thirds if it was 3 parts, but these are not equal either. So this one is not split into quarters for sure. Okay, moving on to the last one. So hopefully you can see there are only 1, 2 parts on this shape. So this one definitely wouldn't have been split into quarters, and they are also not equal. So really important thing I want you to remember as we're moving through the lesson is that it has to be in equal parts for it to be a fraction, okay? Right, moving on. So how else could I represent a quarter? So there's a few different representations on the screen, which is what we're looking at today, but some of them aren't necessarily showing a quarter yet. So if we look at the number line, I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there are 4 parts. So this one is already split in 2 quarters. Similarly with this shape here, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 parts, so I could use that to represent my quarter. However, at the moment, this has got 2 bits shaded in. So this would be showing 2 quarters. However, it is split into 4 equal parts. I can also show 1 quarter as 1 divided by 4, because it's 1 whole divided into 4 equal parts. Now, if I look at my chocolate bar, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I could say that that doesn't show a quarter, or it isn't split into quarters. But if I was to cut my chocolate bar here, and here, and here, I would have 4 groups of 2. So that is how I could separate this to show a quarter, okay? I could give 2 pieces to Miss Jones to eat, and she would have eaten a quarter of the chocolate bar. That would be very nice. And similarly with the sweets over here, again, if I split them into 1, 2, 3, 4 groups, well, one of the groups would show me 1 quarter. Okay, so I have some different representations again on the screen, so have a look at those. And what I'm going to do is match the correct ones together that are showing the same fraction, but as a different representation. So I'm going to start, I can see 1/2 here, so I'm going to put that side, and I can see there's a quarter, so that's the ones I'm going to be looking for. So I know that any that I represent in a half are going to have 2 parts, and any representing a quarter are going to have 4 parts or 4 groups. So I'm going to start with this one here, because I can see that says 1 divided by 2, and I know that equals a half. And this one here is 1 divided by 4, so that one must be a quarter. This one here, I can see has 1, 2 equal parts. So that must be the same as a half, and 1 part is shaded in. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, and one of them is shaded. So because it's in 4 equal parts, I know that is going to be the same as a quarter. Okay, so moving on to this one here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, and 2 of them are shaded in. So this one is a little bit tricky because they're not 2 parts, there are 4 parts, but 2 of them are shaded in. I know that half of 4 is 2. So half of the boxes on this bar model are shaded in. So that one must be a half. Because if I look at this one, there are 4 parts and only 1 of them is shaded. So 1 out of 4 are shaded in. So that one is 1 quarter. Okay, so for these ones, again, I've not got 4 parts or 2 parts, so I'm going to have to think really carefully about the groups. So in here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 dots in my array, and half of them have been circled. 3 out of 6, which is going to be 1/2. And on here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 2 are circled. So if I was to continue circling those groups, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups, and one group out of the 4 groups were circled. So 1 out of 4 groups is 1/4. Okay, so your turn now. On your home learning sheet, I have put these on there for you. So if you want to cut them up and actually have a go at physically moving them around at home and putting them into groups, you can. If you can't print them off at home, then you can just have a look at them on the screen and think carefully about which ones would link together. So looking really carefully, I want you to start grouping these representations of which ones are the same. So if you pause the video and have a go at that and then come back and we're going to have a look at the answers together. Off you go. Okay, hopefully you've managed to have a go at that, whether it was just looking at the slides or whether you've actually been able to have a go by printing it off and mixing them up. So let's have a look. We had 2/3, 3/4 and 1/5. So all of the representations that are underneath that fraction are also representing the same thing. So for example, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal parts and 1 is shaded. Okay, I have 3 shapes and 2 are shaded to show 2/3. Hopefully you managed to get most of those correct. So well done if you did. Okay, so we're just going to quickly recap the different parts of a fraction and what they are called. Now, the line in between the two numbers we call a vinculum, and that's just there to show me that it is a fraction and it means that we are dividing, okay? The number above the vinculum on the top is called the numerator, which was one of our key words. Repeating after me, numerator. Fantastic. So it tells us the number of parts that are referred to, so how many parts we have. Now the number on the bottom below the vinculum is called the denominator. Repeating after me, denominator. It tells us the total number of equal parts, so how many parts or groups there are in total. The whole might be a shape, like we had here, or a quantity, okay? So we're going to be looking at those different representations today. So we've got some steps to success to help you now. I'm going to take you through some different types of representations. So we've got a few different ones to look at. So we'll have a go together and then see if you can have a go on your own. So I've color coded this to help you. So we're going to start with step 1. So step 1 says count how many items that there are in the set altogether. So looking at the first one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm to write this number as the denominator, which is my bottom number here. So I'm going to put a 4 on the bottom. There are 4 equal parts. Then I need to count the number of shaded items. Okay, so if I look here, there's 1 that is shaded in blue. And then I need to write this number as the top number. So I had 1, I'm going to write that in there. So this representation is showing me 1/4. Okay, so you need to think now. So first step, count how many items are in the set altogether. So looking at this shape here, I'll give you a moment. Hopefully you've recognised there are 1, 2, 3. So that number is going on the top. Oh, can you see Miss Jones has made a mistake? What have I done wrong? Okay, fantastic. Hopefully you've recognised I need to write this number as the denominator, okay, because that's showing me how many are in the set altogether. So that one goes on the bottom as my denominator, and I've also put it in red to help you. So the next one, count the number of shaded items. So having a look, how many are shaded? There are 2 shaded, and that number needs to go as my numerator. So altogether, there are 2/3 of this shape shaded. It is showing me 2/3. Okay, I want you to pause the video now and have a go at the last one. I'm just going to try and do that in 10 seconds and then come back to the video. Okay, off you go. Okay, hopefully you managed to do that in 10 seconds. Let's have a look together. So I need to count how many in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. so I should have 5 on my denominator, and then 1, 2, 3 are shaded. So my shape represents 3/5. Fantastic if you managed to work that out on your own. Okay, let's have a look at a different representation now. So we're going to look at some sets of shapes. So we're going to follow exactly the same steps. So for my first one, I'm going to count how many altogether. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. And then I'm going to count the number of shaded items. There are 2 shaded, 2 yellow, 1 shaded. So 2/5 is what this is representing. Okay, let's do the next one. So first thing I need to do is count how many altogether. So can you count how many there is? There are 4. This needs to go on the numerator or denominator. Hopefully you are saying it needs to go on the denominator. So now which number do we think is going to go on top? It's going to be 1. Good. So the denominator is 1 because there is 1 shaded shape. Okay, now having a go at the last one, I'm just going to pause for a moment. I just want you to think in your head this time, what is my fraction showing? Okay, so hopefully you've got the denominator is 3 because there are 3 shapes in the set, and the numerator is 1 because there is 1 shape shaded. So altogether, this is showing me 1/3 in that representation. Okay, moving on to a different representation now, which is our number lines. So this is one where some people get a bit confused sometimes because we have to make sure we're counting the parts correctly. So just watch me do one first. So I'm going to count the intervals this time, and that means how many jumps there are. Okay, so this is 1 interval here. Okay, so I'm going to count the intervals starting from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 intervals, and that is going to be my denominator. Now, I need to know which one is represented, so I'm going to count now how many intervals there are until the arrow, because this is the fraction that I'm representing where this arrow is. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. So that goes on top as my numerator. So this is showing me altogether 3/4. So I could label that arrow there as 3/4. Excuse my writing on the whiteboard. Okay, so looking at the next one, my arrow is here. And you can notice there are a different amount of intervals this time. So I can't just look at it and guess. I need to make sure I'm counting each time. So we're going to do this one together, counting with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I wonder if you're saying at the screen, Miss Jones, you did something wrong there. And I hope you did, because I was just trying to show you something that lots of people do sometimes. Now I counted 1, 2. But this is 1 interval here. That's a mistake that some of us make sometimes. We need to remember we're starting on 0 and my first jump is 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 intervals in total. And then if I go back to 0, I need to count now how many intervals until the arrow for step 3. 1, 2. I'm going to write 2 on my numerator. So if I was to label this arrow here, it is 2, 6. Okay, so moving on to the last one, I'm just going to give you a moment to think to yourself what you think the fraction is representing. So have a look at this representation. What fraction is it showing? So quickly have a go in your head, or you can quickly write it down if you need to pause, and then we'll go through it together. Okay, so let's start from 0. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one should be my denominator because that's how many equal parts there are in total. Then I'm going to count to my arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is my numerator. The arrow is pointing to 4/5. Well done if you managed to get that on your own beforehand. Okay, we're going to look at something slightly different now. So we're going to look at when we're sharing something between a certain amount of people or groups. In this case, it is pizza. I don't like sharing pizza personally, but we're going to have a look at how we are going to share it. So we've got 1 pizza and 3 people for the first one. So our steps this time, I'll count the number of people it's being shared between. So there are 1, 2, 3. So I need to write this number as the denominator. Then I need to count the number of wholes being shared, whole pizzas. So there's 1 whole pizza here, and that is going to go as my numerator, the top number. So if I were to share this 1 pizza between 3 people, they would get 1/3 of pizza each. 1, 2, 3. It'll be split into 3 pieces. I'm just going to change that colour because it's a little bit tricky to see. Okay, moving on to the next one. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people this time. So it's being shared between 5 people. And then I have 2 whole pizzas. It's going to be a little bit tricky for me to draw out 5 pieces on this pizza because it's hard to do fifths equally, same as it is with the thirds. But if I were to split those pizzas up, each person would get 2/5 of pizza each. So following the steps, having a look at the next one, the first thing you need to do is count the number of people being shared between. So can you count the number of people? And can you tell me where that number needs to go? Is it my numerator or is it my denominator? Having a look at the steps to help you. So hopefully you've counted there are 1, 2, 3, 4 people it's being shared between, and that goes on my denominator. So the 4 goes on the bottom. Then I need to count the number of wholes being shared. So how many wholes are being shared? How many whole pizzas in this case? Fantastic, there are 3, and that needs to go on my numerator. So I'm just going to show you how this will work. So if I was to split these pizzas, obviously that's not quite equal, so we'll just imagine the pieces are equal, because Miss Jones' drawing on the mouse is not very accurate. So I'm going to split all of my pizzas into 4 pieces, and each person is going to get 3 pieces each. 1, 2, 3 for person 1. 1, 2, 3 for this lady here with the blonde hair. 1, 2, 3 for this chap here. And then we're going to do 1, 2, 3 for this lady in the hat. So each person got 3/4 of pizza, 3 slices out of 4. Okay, so hopefully that makes a bit more sense as to why we do it that way when we're sharing. Okay, moving on, we're going to look now, because this is going to be in your apply task today on your independent sheet, how we can represent fractions in different ways. So I'm going to have a go at showing you some different representations, very similar to ones that we've been looking at. So I'm just going to pop on the visualizer. And I'm going to have a go at doing 3/5. Now, you might not have any squared paper at home, but you can do this on plain paper. You just have to be really careful because remember, we want to do equal parts. So I'm going to look at some different ways of doing 3/5. So I'm going to start with a really easy representation. I'm just going to do 5 shapes because I know that I need to have 5 parts. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 5 parts in total. Now, remember, I need to only show 3 of these, so I'm going to use my shading to help me. And shading 1, 2, 3. Okay, and you can make it a little bit interesting when you have a go. I'm going to make mine nice little smiley faces. So 3 out of 5 of my smiley faces are shaded in 3/5. Okay. Now, I'm going to take advantage of using my squares. If you don't have squares to help you at home, obviously, if you have a ruler, you can use that to help you. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do 5 here. And then I'm going to break it up into 5 equal parts. Now, I'm very lucky I've got these squares to help me make it equal. If you don't, then you can measure it and try and make it as equal as possible. So again, I'm going to shade in 1, 2, 3 parts. Hopefully your colouring is going to be better than mine. So I've got two different representations there already. Now it doesn't have to be something that you've drawn. I could also write it in words. I might say 3/5. I could say this is also equal to 3 divided by 5. 3 whole pizzas divided by 5 people. Okay. Then I could also do a number line, for example. So I'm going to show you a number line. So I've got a number line. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So that must show me 3/5 if I show 3 parts. I want you to look at that and think, why would that not show 3/5? It could be because I haven't coloured them in, but there's something really important there that's not going to be good. Can you think? So hopefully you're shouting at the screen, they're not equal, because they're not equal parts. So this absolutely would not be showing me any fraction because they're not equal. So I need to make sure, if I'm going to do it that way, that I use an equal amount of space between each interval. Now, you could use a ruler. I can use 2 centimeters for each one. It could be 5 centimeters, as long as they're all the same. I'm going to use 2 squares, so I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 intervals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can colour that in to show 1, 2, 3/5. You may also want to label it as 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5 to show that equally to help. Okay. Another thing that we need to be really careful of, I could also go, okay, I'm going to do a giant circle, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I don't think that's a bad effort, okay? I could now shade in 3 of them. But as I said before, if you were sharing a pizza, I think the person who's going to get this part here is going to be very happy, and this person might be a little bit annoyed. I certainly would be, because this one looks a little bit smaller than that one. So I try and stay away from using circles unless it's quarters, which is a little bit easier, because it's quite tricky to draw fifths just using your hand and freehand, okay? So maybe stay away from using those. I'm going to say this one is also not equal, okay? I'm just going to do one more representation because at the minute I've just used equal 5 parts in each one. So I want to make it a bit more interesting. I might do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 dots. Now, they are in groups of 5. So I could do 1, 2, 3. So 3 of the groups of 5 are circled. Now that would tell me 5, 10, 15. 3/5 of 25 is 15. So I can begin to use this to help me to work out my fractions of quantities. Okay, so let me pop back onto the slides. So when you get to reply, you're going to be doing something very similar to this and writing your own representations. Now be creative. You might be able to come up with lots of great things to show the different fractions that I've given you. Now, your independent task has 2 bands today. We're back to band 2 and 3. If you choose to do band 1, you can see you're just showing what is represented by each fraction. So for example, the first one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. That would be my denominator, and 2 are shaded. So that one is showing me 2 quarters. Okay, if you choose to do band 3, there's some different representations, so make sure you look at them really carefully. Okay, also on your sheet today, you have your reply and reason. So in your reply, as I said, you're showing your different representations like I just showed you. And then for the reason, I've just put 3 in there for you to have a go at, whether you're doing band 1 or 2, band 2 or 3, apologies. So have a go at those. I can't wait to see your representations on Seesaw. When you have finished having a go at doing the independent work, I also have a little plenary question for you. So you can pause the video. if you want to check your answers first and see how you did and then come back, I have a little question for you to have a go at the end when you're a bit more confident. So go and have a go, good luck, and come back to the video when you are ready. Okay, so hopefully you managed to have a go at the banded sheet. I hope that went well and you're feeling confident. So we're just going to have a look at a little question together. So in a Moroccan souk, which is a marketplace, a variety of rugs are being sold. So these are representing our rugs. So nice colourful patterns in the market, as you can see in the picture. I want to think about how could you describe the amount of colour on each rug? So if I was to start doing that, I may need to work out obviously how many parts there are to each rug because they've got quite intricate patterns and nice little shapes on them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, 14, 21, 28. So there are 28 parts altogether. So I could then begin to describe each colour. I could say there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7/28 of this rug are blue. I could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5/28 are yellow. So there's lots of different ways I can begin to describe the colours. I could count the parts in here and describe how much is blue and yellow, similarly to these ones here. Okay, so I want you to pause, have a go, see if you can figure out what different fractions there are for each rug, and then we will have a quick chat about it. So just pause for a moment, have a go, and then come back to me. Okay, hopefully you have managed to have a go at those. I'm not going to go through every single one, but hopefully you can see there that half of the rug is yellow and half blue. And this one, there was 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts. So 1/8 was green, for example. And then this is the one I really want to talk about, because I'm hoping you didn't write any fractions down for this one, because there's something really important I told you at the beginning of the lesson. And that was that they have to have equal parts. And this one does not have equal parts. So I cannot begin to describe those parts as a fraction. Okay, so hopefully that was clear and you've understood that. So hope you've enjoyed today's lesson, everyone. I certainly have, and can't wait to see all of your work on Seesaw and your different representations that you've come up with. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.